Hello Yu-Gi-Oh players and welcome to the next big thing. I'm your host, the RJB0. So this is a new segment of mine where I do a lightning round after major events in which I run down the major trends that came out of those events. Things like new tech cards, decks that are trending, decks that came out from behind, Dark Horse champions, things like that. I run down them, give you kind of a synopsis of what they did that day, and then talk about what they're going to do in the future. So let's start up the next big thing. So next big thing, the Duel Terminal decks, and mostly Constellars. Constellars have been sitting around in the background for a while. They've been a tier 2 deck that people have played and have, done some with. They saw some representation in the early part of last format, but didn't really see a whole lot of play this format until now. One of the biggest advantages for Constellars is their powerhouse of a game 2. They have a huge arsenal in their side deck and are very difficult to properly side against. Evil Swarms have been hanging around for a while and didn't do, of course, quite as well since they got second place this time instead of course, first place. But they have definitely been a bigger presence recently than they were in the past. These two decks do have a lot in common, but Constellars definitely show the power of the two decks. So next big thing, Backrow hate. We saw a lot of Backrow hate during the ARG Open Circuit in Columbus. Now, MST has been kind of exiled from the main deck for a few formats now and has slowly been wiggling its way back into our decks and back into our hearts. But at this event, it was actually being represented in duplicates and triplicates in almost every deck that made it to the top tables. This is possibly a trend that could lead up to MST being limited during the next format. This is not a hard prediction, but it's definitely something I can see. The triple MST in the main deck, and even more Backrow hate in the side deck, and teched into decks like the Constellar deck that won, and the Kados that was teched into the Evil Swarm deck that got second place. You can see that this card has been a huge influence in the recent part of this format. Next big thing, Divine Wrath. Now, cards like this, these discard to activate traps, have almost become staple this format for dragons. Things like Phoenix Wing Wind Blast, Raigeki Break, even Non-Aggression Area has made a bit of an appearance, but never have I seen them in such abundance as we saw them in Columbus this weekend. Each of the top 16 decks, of course, the top 16 Dragon decks that we saw at Columbus had at least 3 of these discard to activate trap cards. Some of them sided in Divine Wrath, which is a new thing for the metagame, and is actually an extremely powerful card that's been neglected for a long time due to its heavy cost of discarding a card, and the fact that it isn't a hand trap like something like Effect Veiler or Herald of Orange Light. Divine Wrath is extremely powerful. It can take down basically any strategy your opponent has, and in the Dragon deck there are a lot of ways to counter things like Backrow that hurts them through MST and other Backrow hate. Takes out the majority of Backrow that causes real problems to dragons, which really only leaves behind the spell or the monster effects that are a problem, which Divine Wrath can definitely get rid of. So we saw 2 Divine Wrath in a number of the side decks in the top 16 at Columbus. Next big thing, Castle of Dragon Souls is a tech that we saw a little bit of in events like Toronto and San Mateo. Wait, it wasn't out for Toronto, but at San Mateo, which is a great piece of damage step trickery, which allows you to grab a Dragon Ruler from your graveyard, so you can activate this, banish that Dragon Ruler from your graveyard, get another copy from your deck, increase your monster's attack points by 700, which is great if you have something like a Crimson Blader, or if your opponent is trying to Crimson Blader you. There are a lot of cool ways to use this card, and a lot of tricks that you can do with it, and then of course, once it does get destroyed, which you can do through cards like Scrap Dragon and stuff like that, you do get to special summon a dragon monster that you have banished. So it's a really cool tech that definitely sought new representation in the top tables at the ARG Open Circuit. Next big thing, Imperial Iron Wall. Now, Imperial Iron Wall is something we've seen on the sidelines for quite a while. It's definitely showed its face in rogue decks before, but in this particular event, Imperial Iron Wall played a special role. Not only was it a major factor in the victories of the top or the final two decks at the event, but it was also seen sided in by a couple of the Dragon Ruler players that we saw at the top 16, which brings me to my final next big thing, Dragunity Ruler. Once again, this is a deck that we've seen in the past. It's been making an appearance, but it's always been kind of second to those heavy Dragon Ruler, those mono Dragon Ruler decks, those Dragon Ruler plant decks. But they definitely made their mark on the top tables at Columbus. And there are a couple reasons for that. The first one is speed. This deck has speed like nothing else. It can put plays on the board even faster than the mono ruler deck, which is definitely saying something. One of the advantages it has is basically the best use of Gold Sarcophagus in the game. They use triple Reckless Greed and triple Upstart Goblin on average, which is a ton of speed for one deck, not to mention the fact that the Dragon Ravine can basically mill through their strategies as quickly as they would like. Another great advantage to this deck is the side deck. Now, Dragon Rulers really flounder when it comes to Game 2 in the side deck. They don't have a whole lot that they can do in the way of mirror match, and it really comes down to whether or not a player can outplay their opponent, or what techs they have in their main deck, things like that. Those really become the major factors in mono dragon mirror matches. But for the Dragunity Ruler deck, they can actually use certain cards that maybe the mono Dragon Ruler deck can't use. Imperial Iron Wall even made an appearance in a couple of the top 16 Dragunity Rulers that we saw at this event. So there you guys go. That is the lightning round. The next big things from ARG Circuit Columbus. I hope you guys like this video and this segment. If you want to see more, definitely hit that thumbs up button. And if you don't want to see more, let me know in the comments below. I won't, of course, my feelings won't be hurt. But if you do want to see more videos like this, if you are not already, hit that subscribe button. Meanwhile, thank you guys for watching Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual. I'm your host, the RJB0, and I got a jet. See you guys.